Chevrolet happened to tease a new Corvette this week, and it's none other than the new Z06. So this announcement should have anyone who is remotely interested in Corvettes pretty pumped, because the video they released sounds a lot like there's a flat plane crank V8 under the hood, Craig. Dual overhead cam. And by the way, the title of this video is called Crank It Up, is what they called it. So that seems kind of like an indicator that we're looking at a major change for a production Corvette. I think Evan's trying to play a little bit of the sound there so you guys can hear it. Yeah, that does not sound like your typical Corvette.
No. But to my ear, it almost sounds synthesized. It doesn't sound real. I don't know. So
well, I think what they were doing was like flicking through like some of the digitalization with that. But yeah, I get what you're saying, but almost certainly this is a dual overhead cam, flat plane crank V8. And I say that because the C8R race car that Chevrolet or Corvette Racing races is now running an engine just like that. It's a 5.5 liter, displaces. No turbo, it's naturally aspirated. And they're going to have to homologate that engine somehow. So looks like it's going to go into the Z06.
Be pretty sweet. Do we know if this is this its own thing, or is this 5.5 liter V8 based on like the Blackwing engine or something else? Do we have any idea?
No, it shouldn't be based on anything else. This should be pretty new as far as I understand, new to this vehicle. We could see, well, number one, the Z06 should be naturally aspirated. It will not have a turbo, as far as I know. And then moving forward, some other variants may slap a turbo on this engine to put even more power out. But yeah, I think we're looking somewhere in terms of horsepower, 600 some horsepower, as I believe were some rumored figures we saw. Yeah, I mean, this sounds like it is a delicious number. What constitutes a delicious number, Craig? Give us an explanation.
I think once you hit 500, that's when it starts to get pretty tasty. Although just like we were talking a minute ago about having huge range in a car, huge horsepower is kind of the same way, right? Like you get past, depending on the vehicle, of course, but you get past, 300. It's a question of how much do you really need? Like you're in a high performance car, you hit the gas, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm doing double the speed limit in like 10 seconds. Okay, great. That was fun. Like it's just effortless.
Yes. So, yeah, I totally agree on that. I'm more of a slow car fast kind of person. Usable power where you're not getting into trouble by the time you're in second gear going 100 miles an hour or something like that.
Yes.
But Chevy's calling this a supercar, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, is this finally when Chevy makes a Corvette that's kind of like America's Ferrari kind of thing? Because this is a very exotic move for the Corvette. And, obviously it's going to still be the C8 mid-engine layout, which is already rather exotic to begin with, by moving the configuration around and going that route for the latest generation Corvette. So I wonder if it may attract some people who typically don't look at Corvettes. I don't think it's going to be stealing Ferrari buyers in the slightest, but
they have too much money to spend. They don't need to buy a Chevy, no matter how fast it is.
Yeah. Well, isn't the thing with people who shop Corvettes or like the wealthy clientele that may want to buy a Corvette, but they can't be bothered going to a Chevy dealer because like literally the Corvette is there, and then next to it on the showroom floor is like a Chevy Trax, which costs like 20 grand.
Yeah.
And you just it's just a very, very different experience than going to like a boutique Ferrari dealer where like the least expensive car costs more than what my house is worth.
Yeah, right. Funny that. Derek is speculating in the YouTube chat here. I wonder if the Z06 is going to have some form of hybrid system, perhaps the first all-wheel drive Corvette. Any idea, Sean?
It should not be the Z06. It may be another variant coming. A name tossed around for that is Zora. We could see a Zora, and that's what do you want to call it? honoring Zora Arkus Duntov. He's kind of the father of the Corvette. I'm sure Corvette people know about him. If you don't, look it up, because he was an interesting figure. And literally his entire dream while working on Corvette programs was to turn the Corvette into a mid-engine car. And it didn't happen until decades after he had passed away. So it's rumored that we may see his name grace a Corvette, and it could feature hybrid power and all-wheel drive.